After the Battle of Kadesh, Hattusili embarked on his journey back towards Hattusha. On his way, he stopped in the holy city of Lower Zantia to honor his protective goddess Ishtar. There, he met the daughter of the local priest. 25 years his junior, she was a priestess also serving Ishtar. She was young, elegant, and charismatic. Her name was Puduhepa. For Hattusili, it was a match made in heaven.
At the command of the goddess, I married Puduhepa, the daughter of Bentipshari, the priest. And we became a family. The goddess gave us the love of husband and wife, and we had sons and daughters.
Puduhepa was not only a devoted wife and mother, but in time would become the most prominent Hittite woman in history.
This is the only case I know of anywhere in ancient Near Eastern literature where the word love is used to describe the relationship between a prince or a king and his consort. And that's probably significant. The relationship between Hattusili and Puduhepa was very much a practical, working political relationship. But I believe it was strongly underpinned by a deep mutual love and affection which each had for the other, and that lasted for the whole of their lives together.
2 years after Kadesh, around 1272 BC, King Muwatalli died. The king's son and Hattusili's nephew, Uriteshub, now sat on the throne. Hattusili was the ruler of the upper land. But from the start, it was an uneasy relationship. Urhiteshub was leery of his uncle's increasing power and saw him as a potential threat. 7 years after his accession, Urhiteshub stripped Hattusili of most of his lands and titles. Hattusili's reaction was swift.
Ta'akansa.
Hattusili assembled an army in the north, rebelled, and overthrew his nephew after a brief civil war.
For 7 years I submitted, but at a divine command and with human urging, Urhiteshub sought to destroy me. He took Hakpisa and Nerik from me. Now I submitted to him no longer. I made war upon him. I marched back to Samuha to face Urhiteshub, and I brought him down like a captive.
By seizing the Hittite throne, Hattusili, like his grandfather Shupilulima, violated the Telepinu proclamation. He justified his actions and disclosed his nephew's fate in a skillfully crafted Hittite document. It has come to be known as the Apology of Hattusili, one of the earliest autobiographies in history.
Mahan mamukan, Urhiteshubas, enisan sianus asolanausta. Nuasma arsaniat, numu, uwai udas. He took away from me all my subjects. He would have planned another, and would have proceeded into the land of Karadunia. But when I heard of the matter, I arrested him and banished him across the sea.
Perhaps one of the most extraordinary documents in the whole Boyarsky archive is the so-called Apology of Hattusili, so-called because it is his defense of his usurpation of the throne. And in it he gives an account of his early life, which is perhaps almost unparalleled in its detail.
The Apology is the earliest text in which we have a sustained self-defense of a particular individual's activities over a lifetime.
Around 1267 BC, Assyria gained strength in the east. Ramesses II was into his 12th year as pharaoh, and Moses was supposedly leading his people out of Egypt in the biblical Exodus. In the land of Hatti, Hattusili, now Hattusili III, was king, and his wife, Puduhepa, was beside him as the queen. For the Hittites, it was a time of peace and prosperity. Hattusili's first order of business was to establish strong political ties with his neighbors. Royal marriages and treaties were the best ways to do this. As the First Lady, Puduhepa functioned as royal matchmaker, organizing the marriages of her family members to foreign kings. She exchanged letters with vassal kings, and even had her own seals for correspondence. She became a constant presence in many affairs of the kingdom, sometimes presiding over legal cases and advising her husband in foreign affairs. Puduhepa's most profound influence was on state religion. In 400 years, the Hittite religion had accumulated a vast array of gods from many different cultures. Every large city, every small frontier town had its own set of deities. The pantheon, with hundreds of gods, became frustratingly confusing both for the Hittites and their neighbors, especially in trying to compose treaties.
And in regard to the fact that I have made this treaty tablet for you, the 1,000 gods are now summoned to assembly. They shall observe and listen and be witnesses. The sun god of heaven, the sun goddess of Arena, the storm god of heaven, the storm god of Hatti, the storm god of the army, the storm god of Örnek, storm god of Aleppo.
The list went on and on. As chief priestess of the empire, Puduhepa, with the encouragement of her husband, ordered the collection and cataloging of religious texts. She revised rituals and organized the many deities in the pantheon. By the end of Hattusili's first decade on the throne, around 1260 BC, the Assyrian problem could no longer be avoided. Before confronting the threat from Assyria, Hattusili knew that he had to secure his Egyptian flank. Also, an agreement with a major power like Egypt would strengthen his image among his own subjects. Ramesses felt the same way about his own position. So, in 1259 BC, after decades of hostility, the king of Hatti and the pharaoh of Egypt signed a peace treaty. The Hittite version, containing the seals of Hattusili and Puduhepa, was composed in Akkadian and sent to Egypt. There it was translated into Egyptian and carved on the walls of the temples at Karnak and the Ramesseum. The Egyptian version of the agreement was also written in Akkadian and then sent to Hattusha. A clay copy of this version is on display in the Istanbul Archaeological Museum in Turkey. The text in Egypt is Hattusili's composition, while the one in Istanbul is Ramesses's. A copy of the version in Istanbul is now in the United Nations headquarters in New York.
Ramesses, the great king, king of Egypt, has made himself in a treaty upon a silver tablet with Hattusili, the great king, king of the land of Hatti. He is my brother, and I am his brother. He is at peace with me, and I am at peace with him forever. And we will create our brotherhood and our peace, and they will be better than the former brotherhood and peace of Egypt and Hatti.
Both sides would honor the agreement.
Due to the treaty that was signed between the two powers, at least there was peace for some time in the Middle East, not only for the two powers, but for the whole region. But most important, that these people at that time kept their word, because peace went on between the two nations. This also gave the opportunity to Ramesses II to embark upon his ambitious program of building. That's why we have his buildings all over the place.
The peace treaty initiated a correspondence between the courts of Ramesses II and Hattusili III that would yield more than 100 letters, 15 of them addressed directly to Puduhepa.
Thus says Nefertari, great queen of Egypt, say to Puduhepa, great queen of Hatti, my sister. I, your sister, am well. My land is well. May you, my sister, be well. May your land be well.
One interesting exchange concerned Hattusili's sister.
Thus says Hattusili, the great king, king of Hatti. Say thus to Ramses, great king of Egypt. Let my brother send a man to prepare medicines for her, so that she might be caused to give birth.
I, the king, your brother, know about Matanatsi, my brother's sister. She is said to be 50 or 60 years old. It is not possible to prepare medicines for a woman who has completed 50 or 60 years so that she might still be caused to give birth.
Puduhepa knew that the best way to secure relations with Egypt was to make Ramesses their son-in-law. However, the arrangement was delayed due to a fire in Hattusha.
The deity who installed me in this place has not denied me anything. You, as son-in-law, will take my daughter in marriage.
My sister, you promised to give me your daughter. That's what you wrote to me, but you have withheld her. And now you are angry with me. Why have you not now given her to me? Do not withhold the daughter from me any longer.
I have indeed withheld my daughter. You will not disapprove of it, but you will approve of it. At the moment, I'm not able to give her to you. As you, my brother, know, the storehouse of Hatti is a burned structure.
The daughter finally arrived in Egypt and entered Ramesses' harem. Ramesses II was now Hattusili III's son-in-law. Egyptian artists immortalized the event on a wall at the entrance of Abu Simbel.
The Egyptian Hittite correspondence is really a very remarkable collection of letters. And I think it emphasizes to us, which we see from many periods of history, the greater importance of personal contacts in international diplomacy.
Here are two kings that were adversaries before. They met a lot on the battlefield, but now they call each other brother. Here are two queens, one of them writes to the other one, calling her sister. This adds to the human touches that sometimes we don't get from the official or formal inscriptions or letters. In a way that gives us an idea what peace can do. And it strengthens our belief in the goodness of human nature.
In his later years, Hattusili stabilized his borders with a series of campaigns, holding the Assyrians at bay, and began a massive building program in Hattusha. The great temple was enlarged. Many new temple buildings were added to the upper city, and the construction of the religious sanctuary at Yazilikaya was begun. Some of these projects were expanded and completed during the reign of his son, Tudhalia IV. By 1240 BC, Hattusili, always frail, was terminally ill. Puduhepa took over most of his official duties, and did everything she could to alleviate his suffering. She asked Ramesses for Egyptian physicians, consulted oracles, and begged the gods.
Alinas, Istanue, Isasarami. Quita, wake me, not Mpai.
O goddess, my lady, Hattusili, that servant of yours, is ill. If anyone has made an offering to the gods to bring evil on Hattusili, accept not these words. Please let evil not touch Hattusili, my husband. To Hattusili give long years, months, and days.
Her prayers were in vain.